Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Looking for these better days.
It is Thursday, July 24th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. A much larger slate of Major League Baseball tonight after a short slate yesterday. The trade deadline is fast approaching. Who will be dealt and who will stay put? Plus, SEC Media Days continuing down in Tampa, and all the talk is about Arch Manning. We welcome in AJ Hoffman to this episode of Better Day presented by FanDuel. And AJ, last season, Arch Manning was the topic of conversation, not just in the SEC, but around all of college football and, quite frankly, in the NFL ranks as well, right? And I've been very vocal. I know you and I have talked about it, that I just felt like he was a year away, meaning it was unfair to thrust those expectations on him in his first season as a starter, right? And to make him the Heisman favorite to the point where like the odds were so stupid before the season on Arch Manning to win the Heisman. And I jokingly would say Arch Manning's going to be the Heisman Trophy winner in 2027 and the first overall pick in 2027. And now we're at that season. It's the 2026 season. Will Arch Manning, in fact, put it all together this year, be the Heisman Trophy winner, and the number one overall pick in the NFL draft next year?
Yeah, I mean, that's the million-dollar question down here for sure. But I thought last year the expectations were outrageous. I thought that the idea that Texas football fans wanted Quinn, they essentially chased Quinn Ewers out of town with a pitchfork. Like a guy who is probably the third most accomplished quarterback in the last 50 years of Texas football. And it was like nothing he did was good enough because of Arch Manning sitting there waiting. And, I would say did Arch Manning lead? Did he end up meeting expectations last year? The answer is an easy no. Were expectations outrageously out of whack? Absolutely. I don't want to go Heisman on him because I don't know how good Texas is going to be. They lost a lot of bodies, and I mean, obviously, it's a program that just consistently reloads, and they're going to have good guys on the field. They're going to have A-grade talent all over the field, but how quickly they can put it together, that's a big question. And how much of this offense is going to be based around Arch Manning? The thought was Arch Manning is a runner. And we saw last year, like Arch Manning is a runner in the same way that there's quarterbacks who are mobile enough to get away. And then there's quarterbacks who are runners, and Arch Manning was never going to be like a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. He's a guy he's like a young Aaron Rodgers, a guy who could get himself out of trouble if he needed to. And, I think the Heisman, a lot of it depends on, do you think Texas is going to win, 11 games? If you think so, yeah, Arch is probably a dude who's going to be there in New York. If you think that it's going to be a 9-10 win season for Texas, I'd say probably not. I lean to probably not. It feels like a big ask out of the guy, especially with, so many changes happening over the course of this offseason for Texas football.
Well, Texas's win total right now up on FanDuel is at 9.5. It is juiced to the under, so you can get plus 118 on the over 9.5 right now for Texas.
And where's Arch in the Heisman odds?
He is the second favorite at plus 800 behind C.J. Carr of Notre Dame, who is plus 700.
How often do 9-win teams have a Heisman Trophy winner? I mean, it is a rare thing. Like normally, it's the best quarterback or the best quarterback or the best guy on the best team. Like Arch would have to put up cartoonish numbers. So if you think Arch is going to be the Heisman, you're probably assuming that Texas is going to be dreadful on defense, because that's kind of the path to it, right? Is Arch would have these crazy numbers and Texas wins 9 games because the defense lets them down, which I guess is a viable path, but not something I'm willing to bet on, especially at the second favorite. That just doesn't seem like good value.
Texas is they will have look at the schedule, right? So they have Texas State to open the season. Then it's home against Ohio State. Like, okay, Ohio State's a team that many people think are going to go undefeated this year. And then UTSA, then a road game at Tennessee. Then you got Oklahoma, Florida, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, at Missouri, at LSU, then Arkansas, and at Texas A&M. There's a lot of difficult games on that schedule, including, yes, the Ohio State game. Going to Neyland is never fun, but it's a morning game. Okay. Then you have to go at LSU, which could be a night game. And I mean, good luck going there at night, right? And then at Texas A&M is a difficult game as well. Like, you're right. 9.5 seems like the right number. And there's a reason why the under's juiced.
Now that said, if you if you have, if you're waiting and Texas beats Ohio State, now suddenly you're gonna have to pay a lot more to get Arch as the
Yeah.
Heisman favorite. So it's a matter of when you want to buy in. But no, I think the 9.5 is a pretty fair number for Texas, which means I'm out on Arch futures.
Well, speaking of Ohio State, I was curious. Julian Sayin is plus 1,300 to win the Heisman Trophy. Jeremiah Smith is plus 1,300 as well. But if Ohio State has the season that I'm hearing a lot of people are anticipating them having, 13-1 for Julian Sayin to be the Heisman Trophy winner, I feel like there's worse bets that you can make this year in college football.
I agree. That was one of the ones that jumped out to me as kind of that's an interesting play there. The other guy that jumped out is Jaden Maiava at USC. This is a Lincoln Riley quarterback, and if you're telling me a Lincoln Riley quarterback, he's out there at some places 25-1. I've seen all kinds of Lincoln Riley quarterbacks do absurd things in college football. It doesn't always translate to the next level, but that's a guy who I would assume is going to put up some big numbers. And sometimes it's just as simple as that. Just who's the coach that's producing these quarterbacks with cartoon numbers. And Lincoln Riley's responsible for a lot of those guys. So there's a couple guys out there that I think that there's good value on, which again, that's why Arch being the second favorite.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, CJ Carr being the favorite, that big of a favorite doesn't feel right to me.
Favorites in the SEC, Georgia is the favorite to win at plus 300. Texas, your second favorite at plus 330. And then there's a drop-off. Alabama plus 850, LSU plus 900, Ole Miss plus 900, Oklahoma plus 900. I mean, if we feel Texas is only a 9-win team, does that mean like they're definitely not going to be in the SEC championship game? Like, what type of season is this going to be for the SEC? Like, could they find their way in there with 9 wins or 10 wins?
With 10 wins, certainly, because if that's the case, you're assuming one of those losses is the Ohio State loss.
Yes.
So if they
Good point.
a way to go, they find a way to lose only one SEC game, then yeah, not only are they an SEC championship contender, they're a national title contender.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if they end up being a 9-win team, an 8-win team, that's going to be very difficult. I think Georgia's, the reasonable favorite. Like, I think they are the rightful favorite.
Yeah.
You mentioned LSU. Lane Kiffin is going to have a lot of talent at his disposal. It's always the SEC West, especially. It's a gauntlet. Like, there's no easy schedule in that side of things.
Yeah.
But man, and the way it's going to stack up is whose quarterbacks stay healthy. And there's always some team in the SEC, and last year it was South Carolina, that we go into the season, we're hyping them up. Oh, they've got, look at who they've got. And then it turns out your quarterback just can't play. And a lot of the times that you find out in the SEC that a guy who looks the part, everybody thinks this is the next big thing. You get into the SEC and you just can't hack it. We're probably going to see that again this year. There's going to be somebody who we thought is going to be the top guy. I've heard a lot of love for John Mateer. It wouldn't shock me if John Mateer's broken after what happened in the playoff last year against Alabama. Like, that you talk about a mental scarring. You've got Alabama on the ropes. You're about to snuff them out. You throw a pick six and they come back and just end up dominating the game. Those are the kind of things that can break you long term. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just pointing him out as an example of one of these guys. But there are just so many guys who just show up against these SEC schedules and they just cannot figure it out, or they just aren't as talented as you thought they were. And it's the case every year. Won't shock me if that's the case again this year. It's just finding that team, catch the falling knife, if you will.
Well, you brought up LSU. Like, are we sure Sam Levitt's the guy?
No, yeah, no one's sure. It's hard to tell, and that's again, we'll find out.
Mhm.
But if he's not, then all this talk about what LSU is, it doesn't matter how much talent's on your roster. If you're not good at quarterback, you're not winning in today's college
Yeah.
football. So LSU's got a ton of talent. And I still probably the dumbest take I've ever had in the history of me handicapping college football was saying that LSU was a title contender if they had someone other than Joe Burrow playing quarterback for them the year that they won. Because at the time, I thought Joe Burrow was just a guy. And it was like, there's so much talent here. If Joe Burrow was more than just a guy, and of course, Joe Burrow goes on to be like the greatest season in the history of college football. So who's the idiot? But if you don't have that great quarterback play, none of the rest of your talent matters.
Yeah, no, that is 100% true. We'll do more college football, of course, coming up with AJ in the next coming weeks. We will have AJ on board throughout the fall up on betterday.com, contributing picks, and right here on the Better Day podcast as well. We'll be previewing Thursday night football this season with AJ Hoffman. So every Thursday morning, AJ will be joining the pod, give you his bets, and we'll put together some same game parlays. We'll have some fun with Thursday night football in the NFL and Thursday night football and college football as well, AJ, because you know we love betting those home teams against ranked opponents on Thursday nights
Always.
under the lights. We have a UFC fight night coming up this weekend, AJ, or maybe more like a UFC fight day, because it starts at 9 a.m. here, local time in Vegas, because they are in the United Arab Emirates. But our boy, Uncle Ayev
Yes.
is fighting in the main event, and he is an overwhelming favorite, minus 550 up on FanDuel for Uncle Ayev over Guskov. Talk to me about this fight and what ways can we actually bet and profit on this?
All right, so Uncle Liev, a rightful huge favorite here, but there is some upset potential with Guskov. He is a hammer. He is going. He's got one speed. He comes forward. He's going to try to knock you off, knock you out. He's got super heavy hands. He hits very hard. He is a subpar grappler, and he is a guy who does not have a lot of even 3-round experience,
Mhm.
much less 5-round experience. The thought here is that if Guskov has any shot, it's going to be early on. I don't think that he gets Ankalaev out there that quickly, because Ankalaev is also a very hard hitter, and this is a guy who could finish Guskov. We haven't really seen his chin tested like this, but I do think that there is the early upset potential, and then as the fight goes on, it's really hard for me to picture a path where he's even competitive in this fight. So for me, Ankalaev inside the distance, which is TKO or submission. I mean, I think a TKO is or KO is the much more likely scenario, but that's minus 250, which isn't, it's nothing great. It doesn't turn into some sort of great value, but that's the way I would look at it. I think after round 3, if it gets to the later rounds, Ankalaev has a ton of 5-round experience. Guskov went to a decision, went to a third round for the first time in over a decade in his last fight. So it just doesn't happen. That's not the fighter that he is. So I think as the fight goes on, we see Guskov drain, and that opens up a finish opportunity for your guy, Ankalaev.
The total rounds prop up on FanDuel, 2.5. The under, minus 154. You get plus 122 on the over. What do you think about the total time of the fight?
I like under. I mean,
Okay.
I do think that Ankalaev gets a finish. I think the round one, again, and that's actually probably not a bad call, because there you're taking out the danger of that round 1 finish for Guskov, instead of hoping that the Ankalaev can survive round 1 and then finish him later.
Yeah.
You kind of enjoy now that you've got one guy who can finish you really early and another guy who, once you get into the middle of round 3, if especially if Ankalaev wrestles, which I assume he will in this fight, he's not the most exciting guy. He could wear out Guskov early and get a finish. This is a lopsided fight, quite frankly.
Yeah.
You've got a much better fighter here, but an overall better fighter. Ankalaev is a champion for a reason. He's one of the best in the world, or a former champion for a reason. And Guskov is a fringe contender. Like this should be a squash match under 2.5. Not a bad bet either.
Well, it's a fight in the United Arab Emirates, and that means it's time to say will the V parlay come through, AJ? If we look at the 5 fights on the main card and we bet the fighters ending in V, which I understand in the main event we have Ankalaev and
You got a double
Guskov,
dip, yeah.
so we choose Ankalaev, but we start with Kuniev over Fortune, then Zainukov over Reshevsky, Dulatov over Turman, Turmarov over Urseg, and Ankalaev, the 5-leg parlay or the V parlay, plus 320.
It's not a bad number, honestly, for this time around. And the reason why these guys, there's so many of these like Western Russian types fighting on this particular card is a lot of these guys have a hard time getting an American visa. So when they do these shows in Abu Dhabi or anywhere over in that part of the world, now it's a chance. Okay, now we can get all these guys on the card because we don't have to deal with the process of getting them into the United States. So, or other countries, there's some countries that are even harder to get a visa into than the United States. So they just knock out all these guys, all these Dagestani guys, these Chechens, these guys that quite frankly aren't fighting otherwise.
Yeah,
they get them on these cards. So that's why we end up with the V parlays when we fight over in Abu Dhabi. So I normally am against your V parlays. But I'll be honest, I kind of like this one, and probably the key to it is the co-main event, the Steve Urseg and Temerov fight. I think Temerov, who's around it's either a coin flip or like you can get him even at like plus 100, I think, on a couple books at even money. So I think he's actually a very live dog and probably one of my preferred dogs on this card. You talk about a guy who's got some serious round one power and can finish the fight early on. So I think you're getting some sneaky value on the ends with V parlay, Scott. So I'll actually put my stamp on it this one time for you. I'll approve you making your nonsensical V wager.
Plus 320 up on the field.
Yeah.
All right. Don't forget, follow AJ on Twitter at AJ is the real. You can check out his show, which is available in podcast form Monday through Friday, the Morning Huddle on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star. It's Guy Talk at a premium.
News, Scott, we're now the AJ and Rob show. The Morning Huddle is no more. It's been rebranded.
Rebrand.
That's right. A rebranding. It's like, all the big companies go through it. Coca-Cola even has done it before. So the AJ and Rob show now on 94.1.
There you got it. The AJ and Rob show. Check out AJ's Twitter account at AJ is the real. And of course, he will be contributing to betterday.com, handing out picks for college football, college basketball, NFL. It's all coming up this fall. And AJ will be joining us each and every Thursday morning to preview Thursday night football this coming season. And you can also access AJ's picks on the Better Day mobile app. That's right.
Yes.
The Better Day mobile app is live on iOS. If you are an Android user, just shoot me an email and I will get you a way to get on to the Android platform. But let's face it, everybody's an iPhone person nowadays, right? So on the App Store on your iOS device, just search for Better Day and download the Better Day mobile app. It is the best way to experience and run with your Better Day membership. Push notifications, picks sent directly to the app. Access all the game centers, the HQs, everything is all there for you. Up online at betterday.com and online on the Better Day mobile app. For AJ Hoffman, I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.